Strangulation through domestic violence. What does it really mean? Let's dissect it. I saw this video on here and it was this woman who was talking to some guy in jail and defending him, saying the ex was crazy and stuff like that when he was talking about getting to the point that he strangled somebody he claimed to love. Honestly, that pissed me off. It made me realize people just don't even understand what that charge actually means. Let's be clear. Strangulation is not an accident. It's not just a fight that got out of hand. It's intent. That abuser decided to put their hands around someone's neck and cut off their oxygen in an attempt to end their life. That's serious. And it blows my fucking mind how many people don't take that seriously or don't understand the severity, including our justice system. If the next step after strangulation is death, then it should be labeled what it is. There is no difference, as I said, between using your hands to cut off somebody's air supply, pulling a trigger, or stabbing someone. The goal is the same, to end their life. And it's fucking serious. And since people like to minimize it, let's talk fact. Domestic violence by strangulation is legally defined as impeding someone's breathing or blood flow by applying pressure to the neck or throat. That's a class 4 felony in most states, meaning you're getting prison time, not probation. It's considered aggravated assault. Why? Because it carries a substantial risk of death or serious bodily injury. In plain English, the law sees it as one step below attempted murder. That's why prosecutors don't take it lightly, and why the victim's craziness isn't what got him locked up. It was evidence. And it blows my mind. One of my most viral videos was on strangulation during Domestic Violence Awareness Month. The amount of women who've almost lost their lives, and men, to strangulation, it went viral. Why did it go viral? Yet we got people defending these motherfuckers. There is never, under any circumstances, a reason to lay your hands on someone. Never. And if you're with somebody who believes it's okay under certain circumstances, fucking run. That's a huge red flag. The moment he tells you, she lied, she's crazy, he's testing your empathy. He's looking for his next believer, his next rescuer, and his next target. You think you're different? Yeah, so did the girl before you who almost lost her life by his hands, and that's why he's in jail. Just remember, the girl who put him there thought she could fix him too, until she realized that she was gonna die one night when his hands were around her throat. She was seeing stars and eliminating herself and trying to figure out how the fuck to get away. You are not the exception, you're the next chapter if you continue to feed into his bullshit lies. Strangulation charges are not he said, she said. They're built on medical reports, photographs, 911 calls, petechia, which if you don't know, that's the bruising and spots that'll form in your eyes and your face if you've been strangled. Yeah, police officers notice that. And let's not forget the autopsy-style documentation and sworn statements. Prosecutors don't risk their whole career over a crazy ex. So when you're scrolling through letters, taking phone calls, and thinking about all those songs that he dedicated to you, just remember one thing. Why does he want you to believe she deserved it so bad? Because getting you to believe it is setting you up to be his next victim. Because you've already said that it's okay to choke under certain circumstances, right? Yeah, you did. Just remember, it'll be your name on the police report next time. And all I gotta say, wake up. Wake the fuck up. He's not misunderstood. He's dangerous. And if you're defending that behavior, you're helping him find his next victim. Follow me for more truths about narcissistic abuse and domestic violence. Let's dissect the lie, expose the pattern, and keep the next man or woman from being the next victim. And to the next victim, just take this. If you stayed this far, the crazy one isn't crazy. She's just speaking out loud about the truth in an effort to save you.
Hi everybody, Lori Fulbright here. Let's talk about an alarming trend that we are seeing among teenagers and college-age students, and that is about 50% of the people who have been interviewed In a recent study, college-age girls say that they have experienced sexual choking. Let's be clear. Choking is when you swallow something and you choke on it. Strangulation is when someone uses force or pressure and they cut off your airway. And it's an alarming trend because what we see is that strangulation can be so dangerous. We see it a lot in domestic cases, and people say afterward, well, I didn't have any marks on my neck, so it must not have been that bad, except for 50% of the people don't have marks on their neck. You could still have a severed carotid and not know that for days. You could still have a blood clot. You could die days later. So in that moment of what they're calling on college campuses sexual choking, which is really strangulation, you can, of course, become unconscious, and then you can lose control of your bladder or your bowels. It can have long-term effects. In this study, they also looked at those who had been strangled during sex and those who had not. They could both answer questions, but actual pictures of their brain show that the ones who had been strangled, they were slower to respond. They had harder time thinking through the questions. So it is having an effect on these brains. And another scary thing is that what we're seeing is maybe you and your boyfriend are doing this during intercourse. It goes too far and you die, because that can happen during strangulation. And what we're seeing is a lot of these cases, the boy doesn't say, oh, by the way, this is what we were doing and what happened. So they're making it look like a suicide. And even though the family is saying this girl didn't kill herself, if the boyfriend's saying that's what it was, it makes it look that way. These cases are being written off. These are homicides, whether they're intentional or not. So I recently interviewed the CEO of the Training Institute of Strangulation Prevention. Yes, in our society, we have to have an organization about that. They educate people all over. They fight for laws. They fight for training for law enforcement, district attorneys, all these people, counselors, and they are really alarmed by what we're seeing with these young women who are now in doing this during intercourse. And sometimes they're consenting to it, sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's like, well, it's, it's part of what it is these days. And it shouldn't be, right? Because it can be so dangerous in the moment. It can be dangerous weeks afterward. If you've been strangled, you need to get medical care, and you need to see if you have internal injuries that might not be visible. Just because you and your boyfriend are having this moment and you come to and then realize that you don't have any marks on your neck, think, oh, that's fine, it didn't hurt anything, it'll be fine to do it again. But it can be very harmful, and we need to be talking to young girls, young boys, college-age kids about how dangerous this can be. And we need to understand that some of these suicides on college campuses need to be better looked at, because maybe it is not a suicide as it initially appears. We'll keep following this story. Be safe out there.
Strangulation is attempted murder, full stop. When someone strangles you, they are attempting to end your life. Someone asked me what the point of strangling is and how it's involved in anything other than trying to kill someone. The truth? That's exactly what it is. When someone puts their hands around your throat, they are cutting off oxygen to your brain. If someone has strangled you, you are in danger, and you deserve to understand just how serious it is. Strangulation is different from hitting, different from pushing, and it's not just losing control, because it is control over life itself. It is dominating you in a way that proves they get to decide whether you breathe. And psychologically, that creates instant primal terror, submission, and a deep trauma imprint. That's why abusers use it, not just to hurt you, to own you. Strangulation doesn't just injure the body, it imprints the brain. When your brain believes you are about to die, it activates survival mode, the most primitive part of your nervous system, the fight, flight, and freeze. But during strangulation, many people can't fight. They can't flight, they flee. Thought stops and time distorts, and the body realizes that life can end in seconds. There is a primal kind of fear that the brain experiences, because there's a difference between something bad is going to happen and I am about to die. That level of helplessness leaves a deep neurological imprint, especially when it's at the hands of someone they trusted. The point being, even if he says he wasn't trying to kill you despite blocking your airway, even if he says he just wanted to scare you or silence you or control you, the body cannot tell the difference between intimidation and death when oxygen is cut off. Your brain experiences dying, whether they want to admit that or not. And that is why strangulation is one of the strongest predictors of intimate partner homicide, because for many women, strangulation comes before the murder.